Wrong one. I got the wrong one. How's it going, everybody? Let me switch this channel. There we go. And there you go. Perfect. All right. How's it going, everybody? My name's Proverbs, aka Danny Tran. If you don't know me, I'm the founder and leader of Validus, the community here, gaming community. And this is actually the first ever episode and of the podcast we're starting called Big Chillin'. And normally what we cover is anything from gaming to real life topics, just whatever stuff that gamers kind of have to deal with in general. So it's not going to get like super real lifey or anything, but I do like to touch on topics that gamers do have to deal with in real life, IRL. But outside of that, there are other topics like gaming, like stuff like reacting to, new games, talk about the current news and video games in general, and then give you guys a very actually unique perspective uh, on video games in general because you don't really normally get to see you know people who focus on large communities get together and talk about these games. All right, well, on to my next topic here. I'm going to introduce the two people who will be joining me on this first episode. First, I'm going to go with What the F. He is a recruit member who joined last year during New World. All right, go ahead and let the people know your voice, What the F,
Hey, what's up?
and then give us a little background about yourself, real quick. Anything. This is a short background. It's fine, like gaming wise or whatever you want to say.
Uh, Not really sure. I mostly just play WoW and BDO. Been in several small and larger guilds. Um, I've been met these guys whenever I came over to New World during the preview.
All right, and then the next person I have as a guest speaker today that'll be joining us is Ziller. He's been here for a while, almost 10 years, I think. I'm gonna let him do his introduction.
I would say 7, give or take.
There you go, 7.
Yeah, so hey guys, I'm Ziller. I've been in VG, like I said, about 7 years now. Started with Planet Side, and I've mainly been more of a FPS focused player. I've had some MMO experience in the past, and I was part of our venture in New World during one of the alpha tests. But yeah, like mainly FPS focused guy. Mainly FPS focused guy, and I just been chilling lately.
Well, cool. And then we're gonna start with the first topic I want to talk about, and I guess a lot of people kind of have been thinking about this, and that's the sad state of video games right now. Uh, Very sad state of video games. I think the first thing I notice is I don't want to. There's not many games that come out that I just don't get hyped as much anymore, and or just I don't see that interest me as much. I think a lot of people feel this way too, with the lack of Steam games, especially with during the pandemic last year. Not much stuff comes out, and some of the stuff that does come out wasn't that they weren't that great. Like, was there any games that you guys thought was out of that stood out? I guess Valheim for me was one of the games that stood out during the recent pandemic.
I'm be real with you, like other than the New World test, like I mainly went back to PlanetSide during the quarantine. It was like the only thing that I found that interests me, and then recently I got into Battlefield again, especially with 2042 coming out. That sparked my interest with that franchise again.
Yeah, same. Anything for you? What Def?
Uh, there's only been about two games. Valheim was one of them,
Yeah.
and the other one was solo. But I mean, that only lasted about a week or so.
Is it out yet? Is it already released?
I don't know. I kind of stopped following it.
I haven't followed it for a little bit either, just because I was like, I kind of want to wait for it to like come out before I actually play it. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
play it hard. I'm just gonna play it on the side a little bit. Uh, but it does have stuff that like I think would have worked well for us. I just think a lot of people weren't interested in it as much, yeah, from our group. But yeah,
Yeah, I
dry
mean,
market.
I think that a lot of us are just, like solely focused on New World, and we don't want
Yeah,
to get invested in.
we don't want to get invested. That's another thing. I didn't want to get invested in the solo because I knew New World was around the corner, And they were releasing them
Yeah.
towards around the same time. It kind of sucks that they were, but oh well. Maybe another time, another right place, wrong time, I guess you could call it. And then
Yeah.
when it comes to mainstream games, I think we tried to play WoW a little bit, not like hardcore, but we tried to play WoW. We tried to play BDO. We even tried Elder Scrolls Online. I think in between now and the 10-day preview that we did for New World, we tried to. I personally tried a variety of different MMOs and tried to do different things. And like I said, nothing really stood out, man. Fuck, like even looking at the Steam store nowadays, right now on the summer sale, nothing really stands out to me. I don't really have to get that same need to like, oh shit, yeah, fuck yeah, something's on sale.
Yeah.
Kind of sucks. All right, we're gonna move on to another topic, the next topic, but that's just the current state of video games, the Battlefield series. So as everybody here knows, 2042 got dropped. I'm a big time Battlefield player myself from when OG days, and by OG I mean like I played 42, the original World War II version of Battlefield, the very first one, Battlefield 1942. Enjoyed it. I didn't play it hard, but I did play it. I was too young to really get into it like super invested. But as I got older, Battlefield 2 got dropped. And when Battlefield 2 dropped, the original on the PC, I was really invested into it. And then I think after that was when they did a spin-off version of the game called the Bad Company series. Now that let's we're just gonna pretend like the dumpster child of Bad Company 1 doesn't exist because it was
I
released
like
like
that
only the
game.
PlayStation. You liked it?
Uh, well, what was it? Like 10-year-old me liked it.
I mean, I like the story. I like the characters. I just didn't like the gameplay. Like they took out prone, they took out like jets, they took out like so much stuff. But without that Bad Company 1 uh humble beginnings, we wouldn't have Bad Company 2, which is a really golden gem that did a lot of improvements. While it still didn't have prone or jets, it improved vastly in other categories. And Battlefield series has just always been a great place in my heart. I played in the New Egg tournaments back in the day for Battlefield 3, and I did a little bit of Battlefield 3 competitive. I didn't really play too hard in Battlefield 4 competitive. I did the Alienware tournaments for 4, and that was it. But Battlefield series has always been one of my favorite shooters. In general. Anyone else ever played Battlefield? Any of the Battlefield series?
Well, I suppose I'll start. So I played, I would say, most of the Battlefield titles in the whole IP, excluding, I would say, 2142. Most of my experience has been, I would say, with Battlefield 3 and a little bit of Battlefield 4. But I've had experience with playing Battlefield 2, Project Reality, for like a very brief period, and a little bit with Bad Company 1, just because I was a console gamer at the time. Played a little bit Bad Company, and I actually enjoyed it a lot. Probably because I was really young, didn't know too much better, and I mean, yeah, like I got a decent amount of time playing Battlefield, and I almost always enjoyed that whole franchise.
Funny, quick funny note: the guys who made Battlefield 2 Project Reality, I think a couple of them went off to make Squad, which is what Project Realities or Squad's based on, is Battlefield 2 Project Reality. If anyone didn't know that, you ever played any of the Battlefield games? What Def?
Uh, I played 3 and 4. Um, but I played 3 and 4, and then Battlefield 1. I played a little bit of it,
Battlefield 1?
but
Yeah, that was good.
yeah.
I
Ever
actually
since
like
my
Battlefield 1.
It was all right. I mean, it's really weird. Ever since my transition from console to PC several years ago, I just haven't really had the same interest in FPS games.
I don't blame you.
And
I lose certain interesting games over the years too. That'll be something we'll touch on a little bit later. But definitely, Battlefield series went from like it was like this. It went really uphill, right? From Battlefield 2 was everybody was during that time. Everybody was like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" Commander mode, 6-player squads, and like the classes and shit, and how cool the good the graphics were. And then it kept going. Before it kept going, Bad Company 1, it kind of took a nosedive because it wasn't exactly that Bad Company was really that bad or anything. It was the fact that it was PlayStation only, and Battlefield was always like a PC crowd kind of game. And then Bad Company 2 came out. that had a huge following because it was back on PC finally. And then we kept going up with 3. 3, I think personally, I think 3 set the bar for a generation of shooters. And we feel the effects of 3 so much today that if you look and go and play, like, let's say Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, or even Cold War, the gunsmith system is so heavily influenced by the original Battlefield series from 3 and 4. Those attachment systems, it's crazy. Back then, it was like you get one attachment on like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1, and I think one attachment on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. And it didn't really change too much of your gun, but when 3 came out, Battlefield 3, you had a plethora of options. You could choose up to 4 attachments, I think, for your gun. And then that really changed. People made their guns kind of personalized and kind of, it felt a lot more personalized that way. Then when 4 came out, they even expanded it even more, and adding in the effects like the laser blinding people in the eyes, the flashlights blinding people with thermals and shit. Obviously not realistic, but it's pretty cool to see that kind of gameplay evolve. And then when you look at modern Call of Duty shooters, kind of you can definitely feel the effects of it today. It just sets the bar like so well. But then Battlefield 1 came out, and that was it didn't necessarily go downhill with Battlefield 1, but it just kind of remained stagnant. Like it wasn't like anything crazy, but it was cool. Then we're not. Then the weird stepchild that no one wants to talk about is Battlefield 5.
Oh, jeez.
The woke gameplay, the woke themes of 5, and the narrative being changed, and it didn't feel like World War II. You had MP40s with red dots on them, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah, I'll be real with you. I took a hard pass on Battlefield 5. Just seeing that revealed trailer, I was like, I'm not interested, man.
I don't blame you. I actually did give 5 a shot. Just being like a fan, I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm open to like being wrong when it comes to that kind of thing. I knew I like going into it. I didn't had low expectations, and I'll actually tell you the gunplay is actually pretty decent. It's pretty decent gunplay, and that kind of gameplay makes me like kind of excited for 2042. Like gameplay wise, they got some good mechanics now with 5, and a lot of mechanics wrong with 5 still at the same time. But the themes and all the other stuff just pushed me away, bro. I just wasn't gonna buy Battlefield 5 at that point. But yeah, man, I couldn't do it. But with the reveal of 2042 and the gameplay effects, have you seen it? The trailer for 2042, what the f?
I think so. Was that the one where they did the God, I don't know what it's called, where he jumps out of a jet and shoots the
Yeah, he
infantry?
shoots the
Yeah.
Yeah, I had like 6 whole seconds of actual gunplay footage.
For real.
I,
I was hoping for
I love
more,
that
but
gun.
they always do that with these like early trailers. So I'm hoping that the next trailer they usually show more gameplay as like the more trailers get revealed.
Hmm.
But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, it was kind of like it just seemed more like a tech demo than gameplay demo. But I hope they deliver on the gunplay, because I think the one thing that Call of Duty beats over Battlefield at the moment is how smooth and how much better it feels gunplay wise. But just to like just to be fair, we're comparing like a very modern game released recently to like a game that's like wasn't even released. I think it was like released like almost 2013 was when Battlefield 4 came out. Let's check it out right now. Release date.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, I mean, it aged. Yeah, 2013, October 29th. It aged well. Like I think it still holds true to like holds really well to today's like standards and such. But like it just wasn't like, you know, it just wasn't whatever's.
Yeah, I will say that it overall shooting someone in COD is a much more enjoyable experience. Not just because even things as minor as the hit marker noises and stuff, the feedback that you get from hitting somebody, but not only that. Um, and like I said, I took a skip on Battlefield 5, and I never really bothered too much with Battlefield 1 either. But what I noticed from Battlefield 4 is that it almost feels a bit floaty in a sense, just a little bit floaty, especially when you get to like mid-range engagements, because
No,
the
I
velocity
can see
is
that.
a bit
I
slow.
can see that. It does feel floaty, and I think that was around the time that floaty was kind of like the norm. I guess you could say, like it was kind of like that was the thing back then. But nowadays, uh, really you don't really like see that floaty. I guess it depends on the shooter. Some shooters really feel floaty. I think Valorant feels fucking floaty when I tried playing that, and that's a whole different ballpark that I want to go into. Maybe for a future episode we will.
That's another game that like I took a look at it and just like, all right, cool. They're making like a competitive shooter. I'm not interested. Like there's something about games where when a developer makes it for the sole purpose of being this is going to
A
be an
competitive,
esport. Yeah,
yeah.
when you make a game just for the sole purpose of being an esport, it sort of detracts from the whole experience. So I saw how Riot was, I believe it's right, their direction for how they were going to take that game, and I just wasn't really interested. Not only that, I'm personally one of those like guys where if I'm playing an FPS game, I just want to be like another just generic soldier. I don't want to be a like a character or like a I guess operator is the whole new craze right now. So like with Modern Warfare,
Oh,
you have your
characters.
operators, but at least in a Modern Warfare, you can be your own generic dude with the Milsim skins. Uh, but no, just having to pick your like hero or whatever for an FPS game was never really something that uh, resided with me all too much.
Yeah, yeah, same. Um, the competition with other shooters, I think right now, I think everybody's gonna have the like gonna have to try to figure something out. 2042 is kind of a good step in the right direction because all the competition right now is kind of like fuck, what do we do? You know, Activision's gonna probably have to figure something out for the next Call of Duty. And honestly, I'll be real, like if they announce Modern Warfare 2 remastered, oh boy, you know.
Oh my god, that'd be so much
Yep.
fun, dude.
Well, I mean like remastered as in like I'm sorry, not remastered. The remake 2019 Modern Warfare. They remake that for the sequel for that game comes out. I
I
think that
mean,
might have competition for with 2042. That's all. That's all I can think of.
well, the main thing that COD has over Battlefield is 2042 does not have a single player. The single player is going to be completely absent in that game.
Well,
Uh, like
it's
they
it's
won't have a
absent.
campaign.
It's absent, but they technically have a campaign. It's considered a multiplayer campaign. That's what they said. So there's gonna be missions and shit that you do in them. Obviously it doesn't have the same effect. And I'll be real with you, Battlefield not having a campaign is okay with me at the moment, as long as the multiplayer delivers really well. You know?
Honestly, when I played 3 or 4, I never really went that far into the campaigns. I usually just bothered playing playing the multiplayer because that's really where the Battlefield experience derives from.
Yeah,
While Call of Duty has always been more, it had a really strong uh, multiplayer following and everything, but like a huge part of it was just the campaigns, like especially with all the characters like Captain Price and Soap and Ghost and everything. Which, by the way, if they do bring Ghost back or even Soap back in the second Modern Warfare, uh, I think that alone can bring a lot of hype
yeah. No,
to
that's what
that
I was
game.
saying. That's what I was thinking. I think Activision's gonna have to pull that out in order to like compete with 2042. So they're gonna have to announce something about the next Modern Warfare, I think. And I'll be real with you, it's gonna be pretty hard for the next Modern Warfare to outdo itself. Modern Warfare 2019 was a really well built game. Just it just suffers from the issue. I think the biggest issue right now that it suffers from is one, the lack of content updates. It was so dry right now because when the next Call of Duty drops, they just stop fucking updating that fucking game. I don't know why, but whatever. Yeah, let's move on to the next topic. I guess it's interesting to see how Battlefield kind of affects everything at the moment. The next topic we're talking about, I think some of you are very interested in hearing about this is New World. New World is coming out August 31st, right around the corner, and July 20th I think is the beta. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's the beta. July 20th is the opening of the beta, and it's been almost a year. I think when we reach August, it'll definitely be at least 1 year. And the game was originally slated to be released a while ago. You remember that?
Yeah, they push it back to add in more content.
Yeah, and I think it's a good idea that they pushed it back. Uh,
Oh yeah,
it's
100%.
because I think, like I said, I think when I played the 10-day preview, the game itself had really good potential. massive potential, you know, but
Yeah.
just not. It just didn't have the stuff and the tools to be there. And I hope Amazon Game Studios changes the direction to less theme park. They need to not do theme park. They need to really focus on being their own unique gameplay that's fun. It doesn't have to be theme park. And if they want this game to survive the long term, that direction also needs to include community tools to like really push community vibes. You know, I think that's one of the biggest things. If you think about it, that's one of the things why we had so much fun in the 10-day preview. What's up, Sinus? That's one of the reasons why we had so much fun in the New World preview. Was definitely because of the community vibes that we were getting. It wasn't like the community, was like really nice to each other. It was because the community, we were like the tyrants, like the bad guys of the server. We controlled like so much. We were like the de facto team to beat. Like if you ever watched, yeah, if you ever watched Dodgeball the movie, I guess what's that gym? The guy with the bad guy gym in Dodgeball. I don't remember the name of the gym, but like the bad guy. We'd be like the bad guys. Yeah, changes in directions. What do you guys think about the changes in directions so far?
I like it.
You like it?
Yeah. They're definitely like with adding into more content. They've added the dungeons in. They've gave more of an incentive to do PvP, open world PvP. That is.
Oh yeah, there was no incentive to do PvP before.
Oh yeah.
What's up, Chris? What's going on?
Then they've added in, the new weapons, and then went from having 3 weapons down to 2, which I've heard a rumor. I hope it's just a rumor, but they're talking about letting us use 3 weapons again.
I hope not. I think
Yeah,
2 is
same.
good. I personally
Yeah,
think 2 is better.
2 is perfectly fine. Like 3, I
3
don't
is
know.
too much.
Like in the preview, 3 was fine because you basically needed the life staff, and you practically needed a fucking hatchet.
Yeah.
And then the 3rd weapon is just whatever you want. Since they removed the life dash from the staff, I mean, you'd only really use life staff if you're a healer now.
And even then, there's like no mobility ability. There's no mobility when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, there's only 2 mobility abilities that I've seen so far, and it's basically the same thing from the fire staff that was in the preview, and then from one of the new weapons, the great axe.
Yeah, the
Has like,
great axe. so,
yeah,
so the new changes in directions. If you don't know already, they added a ton of new weapons. They rebalanced a lot of the abilities and such. And coming from a guild master perspective, like from our like the leader perspective, I see that there's more things for us to do. There's more content. There's more stuff that like keeps player busy, and there's always something to do, and that's good. That's the kind of stuff we needed. The one thing I'm worried about right now is there any like support for like the like I mentioned earlier, community tools. I seriously hope they add in some form of like community stuff that's like events are in our hands. Dynamic events help. I think there's like this new mode, not just a battlegrounds. So they added a battlegrounds called Outpost Rush, but they also added in world objectives for PvP players to do. I think each territory, the castle over each territory during non-siege hours, you can attack and defend. I think for some kind of buff or something like that. And so that's interesting. But the only problem I have with it is that there's a cap. There's a cap on how many people can fight at that fort, and that kind of kills it for me. It's like I understand putting a cap, but I think the cap's pretty small. I think it's like what 20, only 30 people or 20 or 30 people are allowed in at a time per faction. So that's kind of dookie.
Outpost. I think it's
No, not Outpost Rush. It's like a separate open world event that happens. So you know the castles and forts that you fight over. So those now pop up in the open world as an objective every now and then. And if your faction captures it, you provide a benefit for your faction. But yeah, that's a thing. So I think overall so far we think it's good changes in a good direction. It's not going to be like some kind of crazy big MMO that everybody's going to like rush out and unsubscribe from WoW for, but
next WoW killer.
Yeah, there's. I think the next
Wow.
WoW killer is WoW itself.
No, you can only WoW can kill WoW at this point.
And it's kind of doing that right now. It's kind of doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it is.
And so
And
yeah,
WoW can kill WoW, and it's
yeah.
working.
So I'll let What the F tell you guys about the alpha. The alpha, I think What the F got in. I had Savage originally was gonna also join in to tell us about the alpha, but he's not here. But What the F got into the alpha, and then go ahead and tell us about what you played so far on the alpha. Any notable changes? Anything you really like? Anything that draws you in?
Man, I really wish Savage was here because I've only had the alpha for 4 or 5 days. So, I mean, I haven't got to experience a lot of the content so far. I've only done one of the new dungeons so far, which I found to be really fun. Um, it's still kind of like your whole spam your abilities and
And then
dodge.
just auto attack.
Yeah, basically that. Been going around looting chests, and then at the end there's a final boss you have to kill, and then apparently you can keep redoing the dungeons, but you got to farm those corrupted monoliths over and over to get materials, which is kind of annoying on alpha because there's not that many people. You're basically doing it solo, and the game seems a little bit harder when there's a lack of people like this. Because in the preview, there was thousands of people just running around aimlessly.
Yeah, it feels a lot emptier. That's why I wasn't really worried about getting into the alpha either, because of how empty it supposedly feels now.
Like
Hmm.
I just hit level 29. I'm just having fun trying out the new weapons. The what is it? The one, two, three, four new weapons that they've added are actually pretty fun. A couple of them seem like they really need a buff for them to be really good.
Yeah.
But I've been having a ton of fun with the new Great Axe, which I found to be really, really, really good at, your CC and AoE damage builds.
Yep.
But
I
everything
think the
else,
great axe is going to be the de facto what we're probably going to use as our standard issue for our Vanguard team. That's probably what we're
mm,
going to do.
like with the Great Axe and the Spear, is what I've been using a lot, and it just gives you so much CC and so much AoE. And there's a Great Axe ability where you basically throw it on the ground and it pulls all the enemies to it, which is super nice. And then you can switch over like your spear and knock them all down and CC them. But as far as that, everything else like life skilling, questing, all that kind of seems the same. They definitely gave XP buffs to town missions, which seems to be the way to go of leveling.
Yeah.
Um,
I think questing is probably going to be they buff questing XP in the last update. So questing would probably be viable, also a good option to go. Um, New Worlds gonna be coming into something what I call a MMO dry spell. Aside from sort of Legends Online, I think that was the only game that kind of perked my interest a bit.
mm,
But I can understand why it won't be that it won't get like super popular because of the way the game feels and the way the game is not it doesn't the art style just doesn't appeal to other a lot of Western gamers. Uh, and the art style for me, I like it personally because I guess I'm Asian. I kind of like I kind of understand where the art style is coming from. I kind of like feel a little bit. It's understandable, but when it comes to Western gamer, a lot of the art styles maybe too Oriental for him, and it's understandable. I don't really hold it over anyone or anything, but I can understand why the art style is not as appealing. But this
man,
MMO dry spell, bro. Wow, fuck, I don't know.
I love New World's art style and combat style over games like Solo, for example, where it's just absurdly flashy on every ability. I mean, I don't really care for that.
Well, I actually prefer it's not overly flashy. I don't get me wrong. I like overly flashy if it's like a very strong once in a while ability or something. That
Mm.
someone's really doing it. That's really cool. But you're absolutely correct. I prefer MMOs where abilities aren't too flashy, and the damage you deal. It's easier to see. It's easier to like tell what's going on. It feels like a medieval battle, and less of a fantasy like in your face kind of battle where you can't really tell what's going on.
Hell, I mean, even here in New World, when I was doing that dungeon, it was 5 players, and with the healer's AOE, sometimes it was even difficult to see what was going on. And in games like solo, when you have a ton of people doing
Yeah, you
crazy,
got what is it,
crazy ass
10,
abilities,
10 or 20 player raid? Is it 20 player raids? I think.
yeah, like 10 or 20 or something, but you can never tell what the hell was going on. Like I couldn't tell where the boss's AOE was. Who is
Mhm.
that? That's not Savage. Feels bad.
Yeah.
Eh, Yeah, I just don't like flashy abilities because it just disrupts my vision of what's going on.
Yeah, same. I get that, and I think I had a lot. We had that issue with a couple of different MMOs. Thankfully, WoW isn't too bad with flashy shit, but it does get it can get bad.
Yeah.
Thing with
WildStar,
the thing with
WildStar is
WoW
bad.
though is that because of the way the gameplay is that even though some of the spells can get more flashy, it doesn't really stop you from trying to tell what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do limit it a little a bit, and you could actually like if you play WoW enough, you can kind of tell what abilities do what, and there's a good
Yeah.
enough difference between all the abilities.
Hell, I mean, I've been playing WoW since MoP, and I've been doing Mythic rating since Legion, and even in Mythic rating with the 20 other people or the 19 other people, I never felt that I couldn't see what was going on because of everyone's abilities. Like like he
Yeah,
said, it's they do a really really good job of making sure that you know what's going on.
that's really important when it comes to MMO, bro. Like they really need to make sure uh that's done well. Sometimes I feel like the developers don't really play enough of like large scale. Like they'll test where it's not large scale, and I prefer like uh, developers, especially for MMOs, they need to stop doing this. They focus so hard on bringing in some content creator that like it's not even really like in a guild or anything, and he's so focused on the solo aspect that it ruins the game. Prime fucking example of this: Planet Side 2.
Oh boy.
You know, that game is meant to be a large scale shooter, but there's so much focus on the single player aspect, so much focus on this like stupid ass esports fucking shit that the game's been out for almost a decade. Almost. I think it's working on 9 years right now. And we barely got anything as a guild. And in that game, guilds are called outfits. And I think it was earlier last year, or was it this year? Was which when did Escalation come out? This year or last year?
Escalation, that was like March of last year, I think.
Okay, Escalation was the only thing we got for outfits last last year. That was it. So it took 8 years to finally come out with something for outfits. And when they did, they just left us in the dust with that system and thinking that it was okay. That's it. Nothing else. And it's like, bro, are you fucking kidding me? Like, part of what drives your fucking game, like this is most MMOs, not all, but most. Part of what drives your game is one, the community. Two, like the big guilds, guilds, just not even big guilds, just guilds in general. Like that is the lifeblood of your fucking game. And you don't have to focus on them necessarily, but you do need to give them a bone because if a guild doesn't play, right, that costs you not only that guild that's playing, but people who play with that guild then leave to join another guild. Maybe the experience is not the same, and they don't want to play anymore because the experience is not the same. This actually ties on to our next topic that we're going to talk about in a second, but I'll stay on the planet side topic for a little bit because I feel like Zilla probably wants to say something about it. Um,
Oh boy, Planet Side, what you could have been.
yeah,
Yeah, so like, I mean, regarding Planet Side, because I played it probably the most out of the entire community in over the last year, and I actually reached up to a pretty high level uh in Planet Side. I would say like out of all the heavy assault players, I was definitely in probably like top 20 reasonably. I was a pretty strong player. So basically, I was basically that esports crowd that the devs are almost trying to appeal to. Became the thing that uh, sort of almost destroyed the game, or pretty much did destroy it. But like No, escalation was such a good step in the right direction, and it wasn't. It was a pretty decent step, but it wasn't like anything stellar either. And then things just fell apart after that. Like they went to that direction, and then they went completely somewhere else. Like they started this whole like this campaign system, which could be interesting. It's just you know it could be interesting, right? I didn't care at all about it though, because it didn't really bring anything for outfits. It didn't bring anything that's gonna hype up all these big clans to come back and stuff. And don't get me even started with like the whole Esamir. For what
Oh
do you
yeah,
guys?
the rework, estimated rework, I
Yeah,
guess.
the Esamir rework, which that in itself wasn't so bad. I don't mind continent reworks as long as they're done right. It helps add some variation to the game, something new. Uh, but the warp storms, they had this thing called warp storms for a while on Esamir, and that was like you can have an amazing fight, and then all of a sudden this completely random event just shows up and just wrecks it. And for some reason, they thought that this was a good design decision. But it was just that, along with so many other things, and like because of that, I just sort of lost interest entirely. I still like enjoy the shooting aspect of the game, even though its mechanics are very outdated. It's a very old shooter. Uh, but that whole style, that time to kill, the somewhat sandbox environment and everything was something that a lot of shooters lack, and it's only games like Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 that come remotely close to that just large scale experience and just being this uh, this soldier in this huge fight.
Yeah, and it's pretty sucky because they have the biggest monopoly on that market. There's not many MMO shooters, and of the ones I can think of, I can count like on a single hand. I think there's maybe 3 or 4 MMO shooters, right? PlanetSide, World War II Online, and I can't remember the other two that are MMO shooters, but they aren't that great either. But
Not
definitely
great
with
enough to remember.
yeah. So it's not if I can't remember it, it's probably not that it's not worth remembering. But World War II Online is a very dated game, and PlanetSide itself just they have the strongest grasp on the market, but they failed to deliver, even with barely any fucking competition. It makes me so sad. All right, on the next topic, from MMOs, the next one's actually a pretty cool thing to talk about, and that's social groups in gaming. I think social groups in gaming kind of help greatly define you and your experience with video games because everybody's game experience greatly varies. You got people who play games by themselves, like single player games. There's especially if it's like something they're like a person who can't play at certain times with other people, or just don't enjoy multiplayer games in general. They play a lot of single player games and a lot of narratives and such, and they kind of want to experience the game, just them in the game. Then you got small circles and cliques, and these are pretty large amount of these kind of groups all over. These groups typically have like a small Discord server of like 10, 15 people, and they go on and they play small games together. Anything from like Call of Duty, Among Us, like Valorant, League of Legends, those kind of games. They play those games together by themselves in small groups, and that's kind of like the death of what they go through. Then you got medium-sized communities and guilds, and these are the kind of groups that play large-scale games, or they go into games that even small games with a large amount of people to support each other and be each other's like social network. And that also changes between the way you play the game. It completely changes from these small circles and cliques to these medium communities and guilds, and that greatly varies your experience. So now that your experience is varied, obviously the type of game you're going to play is going to be different. Medium communities and guilds are going to play MMOs, going to play large scale shooters, large scale games, or they'll just have like their own mini community of small circles and cliques within that community. So do you know what I'm saying? Like if you're just like you're playing League of Legends with a big community, right? There's typically these cliques that form within that community that tend to play together more so than the other group, and then they kind of form their own just bubble within that world for that game. Then you got one step higher. That's the fucking large community. No, we're talking like what Goon Swarm I think would be one. These
Yeah, for
guys,
sure.
we're talking like 10,000 people. These are the guys that can go into a server and literally crash the server from just having their members just log into the game. And these mega swarms, like I said, your experience greatly varies. I personally have never played in a mega swarm, so I can't really speak for that, well enough. But I definitely can speak from experience of playing and meeting, like being a guild leader myself and playing in small circles and cliques. I can definitely tell that there's a big difference between those two in terms of gameplay. What are your guys' experiences with small cliques and guilds, or any of you guys ever played in like a mega swarm?
I guess I'll start. I don't think I actually ever played in a mega swarm, and it's just because when you get to a size that's that massive, I would imagine that it almost forms communicate communities within communities. So it just seems like a bit of a redundancy to me, and that, along with the fact that the larger a group is, generally speaking, the less tight knit it tends to be, and that's not really something that I'm interested in. I'd much rather be sort of in a like a smaller or mid-sized group that has a more just well knit and a like well bonded sort of a community, because the overall experience is much stronger. It's just better. The group itself tends to perform pound for pound better than those larger groups. And I guess I can go over some of my experiences regarding some of these groups. Like, so my main experience with groups is, Validus. It's been my main clan, my main guild, or just gaming community for the last 7 years now. And so I guess if you were to put numbers out, would you say that we're a small or like a mid-sized sort of
I
deal?
think we're a medium. I don't think we're small. Small would definitely be like there's like 5 to 10 people who are who are like in at a game at a time. We're definitely a medium size or like medium small maybe, like a guild size. Guilds are typically around our size, like World of Warcraft guilds or other guilds. We're about that size.
Right. Yeah. So what was it going on? Yeah, but like being in this, I guess being here as well has also just shaped my perspective on like what my preferred size is for a community. Um, and then one of my, let's see, another group that I was involved in, and sad to say they're not around anymore, was during the quarantine I was playing PlanetSide, and there's a group called DD12, the Dirtiest Dozen, and the whole trope with them was that they were so PlanetSide has outfits, right? But there's also, you got like mid fits, you got Zerg fits, which is just the giant ball swarms of huge outfits. And then you have like elite fits and skill fits, and that's like those are like the sweaty, try hard elite players. Basically, take me, copy paste me like 20 times or 30 times, and there's your elite, sweaty, try hard outfit. And that was kind of basically DD12, but because and a lot of things that happen a lot with these and one thing that these smaller and medium-sized groups can potentially have a problem with is if there's a cult of personality formed within that
Yeah,
group. Just like you're just a leader that's very popular and almost steals the show every time. It's great when he's hit there, but when he has to become absent and someone else sort of has to take charge for a bit, it's not the same. And the chance of a group splintering and fracturing is much higher. And I experienced that firsthand with DD12. The main leader, he had real life issues that he had to attend to, and was absent for a long time. And things slowly, I wouldn't say slowly, but things started to degrade more and more. And eventually, the group sort of just splintered off. And like it was it was sad, but at the same time, I think it was just inevitable. Excuse me, that something like that was gonna happen.
Yeah, that sucks because I mean, and that's a normal thing that a lot of groups have to face with, and that's actually where VG kind of shines at the moment is because we're so resilient to to become like just kind of closing off. Like over the years of being in the gaming scene, I've seen groups come and go. I've seen guilds come and go, and in like the last I must have seen at least 100 different groups get formed, and then just gone into the nether, and then their members kind of branch off to whatever they want to branch off to, and that's a normal thing. It's actually really rare to see a group that's like has at least a decade of being together. That's a really big accomplishment in my opinion. It's 10 years of being alive as a group. That's a testament to your group's like I guess retention, survivability, like in terms of like your interest in the games and such. That's a big deal. Uh, Small groups come and go all the time. Like you get the clicks, and you certain times where you play with a certain group and such, and then there's days where you don't, and then eventually you stop playing with them. Like that's how it is. But what about you? What the f? Have you? What's your thoughts on groups affecting your experiences in video games, especially group size?
Mm, as a solo player, I mean, it never really bothered me too much. I've only been into like inside of two bigger communities, Validus being one of them, and the other one was probably just a tad bit smaller than you guys. Was over in Arcade on Chain actually, um, which is quite a bit of fun. We actually did a lot of zerging on that game. The whole like our whole guild would go and just be flagged on everyone and kill them all at different uh, parts of the map. I can't even remember what was even in that game, but yeah, I've only been in two bigger size communities in video games, so I can't talk too much about it.
Gotcha. It's a big. I think it's a pretty important thing, especially now that the internet's becoming so much more widely available, and a lot of games nowadays are focused on multiplayer and less single player. Back then, we saw a lot more single player games, and they were more focused on couch co-op. Is what I call it. It's like you share your screen, kind of co-op, or multiplayer. Nowadays, it's almost like exclusively like if your game doesn't have multiplayer, you lose out on a huge chunk of people. You know, not that I'm saying you need multiplayer. We've seen a lot of good single player games come out in the recent years, so there's still a big crowd following for it. It's just without multiplayer though, you are missing that big portion. And with that being said, like we talked about earlier, video games are so mainstream now, dude. Like, oh my gosh, like a lot of people play video games. Back then, like in when I was like maybe elementary school, I want to say people were like, "Oh, you play video games? You're a nerd." You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
And I mean, it's still like that now sometimes.
rarely. Actually, I mean, for me anyway, it's rarely like that. People nowadays, all the people I never knew would play video games, are now playing video games and streaming their shit on Twitch. Like
yeah,
I was streaming on Twitch like maybe like 2013, 2014, right? And I would never expect any of these people to like these are the people I asked like, around the time like, do you want to play League of Legends or something? They're like, no, I don't play video games. And now they're streaming on Twitch playing Valorant. You know what I mean? Like these are the people who said they would never play video games. Now they're playing Valorant on Twitch. But that's a big deal. So it's very mainstream. And I like I said, I think the group that you're with kind of helps define your experiences. And for what the f, for him it was because he floats with being a solo player. He floated, and I guess we're one of the biggest groups he's been in. So like that's I'll be real with you. What the f? I'll ask you this: if you didn't get to play with us during New World Preview, it just your experience probably just wouldn't be the same, right? Like you wouldn't got that same experience, right?
I would have still loved it honestly, but it was definitely a hell of a lot more fun just being in the community and just watching the salt. Because like I didn't really play much in the PvP scene with you guys. I didn't do the sieges with you guys. I just kind of sat back, did my own thing, and just watched. And it was hilarious. It was great.
Yeah, there's just that there's just that sense of like camaraderie when everybody's talking shit about you and your group, and you're just like, this is great.
What's funny is like I've actually met people back in the preview that the second that they would notice what guild that I was in, they would immediately start talking shit.
Yeah.
Like just full blown. I didn't even open my mouth or even acknowledge them. They just start talking shit, and I'm like, I'm just some random dude in this guild, my man. I'm not controlling taxes. I'm not doing PvP. And he's like, I don't care. Fuck you and fuck Validus. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, that guy's ass blasted, isn't he?
Yeah, that our experience in New World. We're gonna cover that in a future episode. There's gonna be an episode where we just go from start to finish. We should probably do it next week or maybe this week. We do an episode where we
It
all
might
sit
take like a
down.
whole 2 podcasts, man.
Yeah, it might
Yeah.
tell the story of Validus in New World. I'll even write out like a little like little planner for it of what we were doing, what we were thinking. Funny enough, the 10-day preview was not the first time we played New World. We played New World during the 3-day open I think open alpha or something like that. We got invited. Me oh no density test. It was a 3-day density test that me and a couple friends got invited to. We tested it out. We're like, hey, this is not bad. It's worth trying. It's not. It wasn't great. It wasn't good, but there's potential here. That's why we went into the 10-day preview like really prepared. So if you didn't know, Savage and what if you probably didn't know this, we had a meeting, like 2 days prior to the preview, the 10-day preview, and we were, I stocked up my fridge. I was ready. It was like I treated it like launch day. I treated it like it was a fucking launch day, and that's why it was so much fun. Uh, Launch days, oh man, that kind of stuff. That's why being in like communities and stuff it's got its pros. It definitely has its pros, especially with MMOs. But I can see why like being by yourself or playing solo or playing in a much smaller group has its benefits. Give you an example, okay? With me, with as the founder of the community, the leader, right? Whatever game I'm playing, if it's a multiplayer game, the community tends to gravitate to want to play the same game I play, which isn't bad, right? That's not necessarily a bad thing. It means I have friends that always want to play with me, and that as extrovert, like I never complain about that. I always love playing with friends. But with that being said, it makes me like kind of like consider when I look at games. I was like, does this game have things for me and my friends to do, or instead of does this game own like what does the game have to offer me? It's what does this game have to offer me and my friends? So that's always something that I usually consider when I go look at a game. Some games are great to play by yourself. One of my favorite games I played last year during COVID that entered my one of my top list of favorite games is Ghost of Tsushima. And that game, when it first came out, didn't have multiplayer. And even with the multiplayer, it's like I think limited to 4 people at once. So it's not really like a game that I would push VG into, but I enjoyed the hell out of it. And I realized that like because I'm so focused on multiplayer games, I did miss out on that portion of like single player games that I think I wish I played more of. And Ghost of Tsushima was a really good game where uh, not having to worry about setting up schedules, events, organizing people. You just jump in, enjoy the just kind of coast and just enjoy the story. And MMOs on the other hand, especially being like if you're a guild, if you're watching this podcast and you know what it's like to have to be the guy that organizes everything, there's like that sense of like pressure like to like make sure you get shit done. If you don't, then you're failing the people that are playing with you. I think we have someone in here. Did you want to drop something? What, Dev?
Wait, what?
Oh, sorry. I thought I saw your mic light up
Oh,
for a
it's probably
second.
just me coughing. Well, I was gonna say with what you said with whenever you play a game, you have to kind of think about what your other friends would like as well. That's kind of why I am a solo player now because I love playing with friends, but I got so sick of trying to find games that all my friends would like as well. And if they do try it out, they stay for like a day, and I'm just like, well, shit. Now I'm stuck here by myself, or I lose the interest of the game because my
Yeah,
friends left.
yeah.
So
So
now
you
I just
you you definitely
yeah
understand what I'm talking about on like a more micro level for like a small click.
yeah. So that's why I kind of just do everything on my own now. I just go out and try random little small games and shit like that, and don't worry
Yeah,
about.
I still do the same thing. It's just I still have that responsibility to this group, and not like in the responsibility that's like my life depends on or anything, but a responsibility that like if I don't do anything, then this group kind of like becomes stagnant, becomes boring, and eventually will fall apart without someone doing something.
Well, let's go just back into the whole cult of personality thing.
Yeah, exactly what Zilla was talking about earlier, the cult personality. And
I
and
will
here
say,
here in VG, it's I'll be real, it's a Proverbs cult personality group. Like we've tried multiple times to go around it, but it typically never works.
whenever we were all playing Valheim, those days where like you would be gone for a day or two, it would just be dead quiet. No one would be on the server, but the second that you get online, everyone pops on, dude.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And and through my eyes, right? I'm thinking that, oh man, they must have been having fun while I wasn't playing. Like, damn, it was always like this. Anyway,
That was like the only people.
yeah.
Yeah.
So real quick, I'm gonna introduce Savage KG, who was supposed to be here in the beginning, but I think he had some stuff come up. But he joined mid towards the end of this podcast. Savage KG joined us through New World. I'm gonna let him introduce himself a little bit. If you want to just introduce yourself a little bit, Savage, go for it.
Yeah, it's going. It's the biggest. It's the baddest. It's motherfucking Savage in the building. The fucking best player in the world. I'm back. We out here. You know what I'm saying? Every day on the block, all day.
So Savage kind of has an idea of what I'm talking about when it comes to like small circles, right? It's like cliques and stuff. Then you kind of like the next step is like the medium communities and guilds. Then the next step beyond that is the mega swarms is what I call them, like the big super big groups that have like 10,000 people playing it. But yeah, so I'm sure you have experience with like small medium circles and cliques here and there, right, Savage? When it comes to like online groups and such, or like maybe real life friends.
Honestly, I've been a loner pretty much of gaming besides BDO. I was in a pretty big group then, but that's pretty much it.
Gotcha. And then you found your home here. Gotcha. So I guess our group and like the guild that you were in BDO is like the only experience you have with like bigger groups.
Yeah, like, and I've dibbled and dabbled, like, but these are the only two groups like I was like really like involved in, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Other groups I'll join like for the content, but I never like got to know people or connected.
Yeah, and I think that what's very defining of that for Savage, or not even just Savage, just everybody in the channel. There's something that I call guild culture. So when you go from group to group, there's a very distinct culture between each circle of friends, and we probably have the most, not the most, but we probably have like a really unique guild culture here where it's like very laxed. Very I try to make things more like, I try to break the gamer norm. Like one of the gamer norms I would say that we try to break is people don't like to show talk about real life stuff, or like don't like to like video camera, you know what I mean, like you kind of don't know what each other looks like, and it's kind of taboo to ask. But here it's like totally different, like no one really gives a fuck. No one's really like judgmental here about that kind of thing. Like I take my phone whenever I'm like going to McDonald's or something, or I'm going somewhere to walk my dog. I take my phone and put myself on video camera just to hang out with the guys on in the VG Discord, and it's just stuff like that in general that we kind of help solidify our connections. And on top of that, this is probably something that Savage and What Def don't know about, but I think Zilla has an idea. Is over the last probably 8 or 9 years since Validus has been around, I've met a lot of community members in real life. Actually, we've met up, hung out, got some food, and it kind of shows that like that's becoming like one of the norms uh, in video games. Back then, like maybe like 10, 15 years ago, that shit was wild, bro. You don't want to meet a stranger in the fucking from you met on the internet. And then nowadays, it's totally different, bro. Like people don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah, I will say that's one of the great things about this group is like it's I would describe it as it's laid back, but it's also like low pressure too. Like
Yeah.
you don't feel like you are super obligated or pressured to have to like play anything with anyone. It's sort of like, I want to play this right now. And you go hop in and, chill with the boys. The only time where things get like intense or high pressures, when it's necessary. Say there's like, we're doing a siege or just a big event or something like that where it requires all of us to be, you know, like firing from all cylinders. But I really like that. It's really relaxed. It's it's chill. It's laid back. it it hits all the right buttons for me personally. It's sort of like that Goldilocks zone almost.
Yeah, the balance. You got to find the right balance. Excuse me. I was just talking to someone the other day. You probably know him. Eagle, not Eagle. Somebody else. Somebody else who went and made their own group and guild, and they're talking to me how like what they learned from playing with VG kind of helped them spark and make their own group. And that was like he was more used to groups that were like super serious. You had to put in an application. He was coming from like a WoW guild that was doing mythic rating, where you had to put in an application. You gotta like tell them everything about you. You gotta tell them what job you do. That way they can know if you fit them. You know what I mean? And he's telling me that that's how he thought all groups were until he joined us.
Jeez.
And so I was like, no, bro, like you got tons of different groups that do all sorts of different like facets of levels. And if that's your idea of like an effective group, is like that level of like sweatiness and shit, then like I'm sorry, man, that sucks. But like we're a good balance of both. I think we're a good balance of both casual, jump on, shoot the shit with the boys. Like we're filming a podcast here. It feels like we're just shooting the shit with the boys, and as opposed to like when we get together and when we want to get something happen, we want to make something happen, and everybody kind of like, there's no need for me to yell at anybody like the way some groups do it, or there's no need for me to come in and be like, yo, like shut the fuck up, we're about to do this. It's more like, hey, yo, it's siege time, let's fucking make it happen, and everybody knows, everybody's like hyped, everybody's like the morale is high, everybody like right before the gates on siege drop, right before the bubble comes down and the fight happens, everybody's like pumped, everybody knows that like, hey, if we do this correctly, it's a ton of fun, it's so rewarding to work together as a group, and because of that, everybody wants that, everybody does it, there's no one like who is in there that doesn't want to do it, and it's a really cool feeling when that happens, especially we're coming from a group that like in order to join us, all you have to do at the very moment is just jump into our Discord. That's all you got to do. That's it. And then
What's that? You mean I don't have to tell you my whole life story, give you a giant
Social Security
job
number?
application and a job interview, and
some people thought we were like that. People think we're like that. There's legit people
you
think
would
we're
think
like that.
like honestly, like based on like how fucking organized and shit we can be, like you would think that we were some type of stuck up ass weird group. That's mostly what I encountered like doing gaming and shit. I always joined these groups, and I joined Discord or something. I just didn't really talk much until I figured out it was a cool group. But I joined a lot of fucking groups where you get in there and fucking people cussing each other out. Shut the fuck up. Like, when it's time to, you just see the attitudes change really hard. Like you see somebody like cool for one fucking second, then the next second, like people make him mad. Now he's cussing everybody the fuck out, and shit's awkward. People leaving and shit. Like you see the weirdest shit, and I'm just like, bro, like I can't be a part of this type of shit. So
so like that's the issue that a lot of groups have is they almost take themselves a bit too seriously, right?
I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
I don't mean to, I'm gonna stand up for a second, go to the bathroom, but continue, okay? I can still hear you guys.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll talk about DD12 some more, right? They were actually pretty much in the Goldilocks zone too for a while. They were they felt laid back, but it was still like a very sweaty environment. It was like probably the most laid back, sweaty environment that you could sort of get. And then go on.
I don't know. I was about to say Terra was like I said, I haven't been in a whole lot of big groups, but Terra was one of my very first groups. And the whole guild I was in like fell apart in my face. It was the weirdest shit I ever seen. Cause I literally joined the group 1 week, and the week after that, half the fucking group left because they had like some type of fucking inside, guild drama and shit. I'm just like, bro, like, when the shit get this fucking crazy, like on a video game? I didn't understand it at the time, and I still kind of like, I kind of do now. like growing up and shit, and actually like because as a kid I just thought it was silly as fuck, like a bunch of grown people arguing over a game. But I grew now that I'm older, I kind of understand like where people are like coming from, with the seriousness and shit. But still, like to the level that I've seen, like it's still fucking insane. You don't get that shit here. Like we barely have drama here. Like even when shit gets serious, like it's still not that serious. It's just serious for like 20 minutes. And
Well, I
Yeah.
think that part what causes that is a lot of these groups, they invest a lot of time and a lot of emotional investment into these games. So when things get serious, it might as well be something very serious because so much of your time has gone into something.
And that's what I'm starting to understand. That's what I've grown to understand, like the time invest. Because I actually do it myself now. Like I didn't really put a lot of time into games like that. Like not a ton of time, like thousands of hours and shit. I'll put like 10, 20, 30, 40, like kid hours, like not dedicated shit.
Yeah. What touching on that? It's people actually don't realize that is that like Savage said, he didn't realize it before, but he realizes now that like you put a lot of time and effort into these groups, just for the sake of the group. It's not even for like you. It's for the sake of the group. I'll give you an example. Is like when we play Arma. When we played Arma a lot, and that was one of our main games. Organizing events is not easy. Organizing events and Zeusing them was not easy. You got to get the server going. You got to write the event out. You even have to rehearse. Did you know we did rehearsal for some of the Zeus stuff? And then we had to invite the groups, coordinate what time the best times they can come, get the mod set ready, make sure that the map loads properly. And then the worst part is for us, like because it's such a cult personality with me, we needed someone to step up and be like the leader for VG side of this event because I was basically an event organizer and not a participant, and so it just became like, oh man, like I have to do both because there are certain times where I did both. I had to like both organize our guys and organize the event, and it just becomes so much work. And I'm not regretting any of that work I put into it, but to an extent, it's like it does eventually like kind of wear you down and like kind of burn you out if you're not like doing it proper. And especially with a game that you play for like a whole like year or 2 years. I don't know how long our Arma stint went for, but it went for years. I think Arma is the game I have the most hours in any game I've ever played in my life. Arma, I have. Let me look at Steam real quick. I know PlanetSide comes close, but PlanetSide actually wasn't as much as Arma. Arma 3 on Steam currently at the moment, I have 4,030 hours into that game. Like,
dang,
that is hours of playing the game and hours of like prep work of like preparing for like events and shit. And so like people, it sucks sometimes because like those events are fun. They're tons of fun. They're some of the most unique experiences you'll ever get. But the problem is that like there's so much work that goes into it. So I do understand. I understand 100% what you guys are talking about. There's also the side of things where like as like the person in charge, you have to, when it comes to drama, no group that I know of can say they are 0% drama. Every group has some form of fucking drama. There's no such thing. Yep. It's just how your group deals with it and handles it that matters. I'll give you an example. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go. I was just about to point out that was one of my key things, the way you guys handle.
Oh yeah. So like the way our policy is that like, first and foremost, we try to handle it as like by the book as we can. To be fair, like I want to be fair to everybody, and that's one of the rules we have here. Whether you're a member who's been here for 10 years, or you're someone who joined yesterday, if the rules say this or the rules say that, or you're not like being like for the group kind of mentality, then you're not playing right. You know what I mean? And we've had stuff happen here in the past where our group has a share of history, but it's how we handled it that kind of kept us surviving to this day. We've had groups splinter off from us, and how I handle that is very different from how most founders and community leaders, and this is probably why, not to toot my own horn, but this is probably why most people like hanging around our group. It's because of the way we handle it. One of the few groups that kind of splintered off was I'll give an example. Would be like during PlanetSide 2, we had a group splinter off called Suit, and I wished them the best, and I said, hey, I'm glad you guys are doing this. If this is what you want to do, I 100% go for it. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to like start this group or a group like that, but do it with like you have my 100% support. You guys have you're still part of Validus if you want to become, if you want to come back and play here. That's how I handle it. A bunch of like, I think it was like 10 or 12 dudes left VG to form Suit, and I met some of these guys eventually in real life. I went to go drink some beer with them on a Ferris wheel, and like they're with a different group. Like it's just there's no. Why would I be so upset about people wanting to make their own group? It's kind of like, why make that unnecessary drama and heat for yourself, and and make it for the other group. With that being said, there were groups that have left VG. Well, there's one group that left VG on a bad note, and I'm not going to say their name, but it was so how else could I have handled it? You know what I mean? It's like, how else do I go about this other than to tell you straight up, like, hey, it's not like that. It's like this. You need to do this, or we can't continue. And you tell them that, and then they'll still throw it back in your face eventually, one way or another. And these are people that I thought I knew really well for like 6 years, and it's weird. So most communities like us would be like, oh, fuck you, why are you going to make your own group? For me, I was trying to push them to make their own fucking Discord, bro. I was pushing them like, hey, yo, why don't you just make a separate Discord for this shit? Like, it makes so much sense. Like, you're basically a separate community at this point. Why don't you just do it? And then, they got really upset that I was trying to get them to do that. It just fucking blows my mind, dude. It blew my mind, but whatever. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into the experiences of the social groups and games, man.
Yeah, I think the fact that you're so welcoming with people leaving at their own will is kind of what helped make the community like how it is. Because everyone who's here like just genuinely wants to be here. Like it's no type of I'm doing this because I have to or because I want to play with this person or it's like it's cool if you leave. It's cool if you come back. Like just do whatever the fuck you want to do. So you just end up with this environment of people who just want to be here. Like there's no second reason or hidden reason or anything with it.
And it's just all fun. Like, and whenever we arrive at issues, majority of the time, we typically resolve it the right way. I think. There's a couple times where we probably didn't resolve it the right way, and that we kind of went back and was like, man, we could have handled it better. But that comes with like growing as a community and kind of getting better at it. And one of the situations we had where I think we handled it extremely well, or I handled extremely well, was, do you guys remember? You guys remember that guy from the Enclave, Elemental Advisor?
That was my boy.
Yo, he was legit a spy. Like, we knew he was a spy. And this dude comes in saying some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard. And like the shit that he made up was stuff that like you can easily prove is a lie. And like, despite that, I was just, oh yeah, say Shay, see Despite that, I calmly talked to him. I was like, hey yo, what's up, bro? Like, like just be real with me, bro. Like, are you a spy? And I told him, like, it's okay if you are, bro. You can still play here. I have no rules against like spies playing here. Cause here's how I see it, okay? I have no control over anyone in this community, whether or not they're with another group. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, we're not in the military. We're not in some mega corporation where $100,000 are like fucking like on the line. We're just a bunch of fucking gamers just playing video games. So I have no way to stop you guys from going to like another group and playing with them. And even if I did have that power, why would I stop you guys from enjoying an experience with another group? And that's where like this whole topic is about. It's like you're who you play with in the groups that influence your enjoyment and your perspective of video games is it drastically varies. And I appreciate when people do actually go out of their comfort zone and do this. That's actually a really cool thing. And that's why, like I said, like let's say Savage wants to play with another group on Launch and New World. I go for it, bro. Like if that's what you want to do, go for it. Like it's cool, dude. Like or like let's say Savage is like he plays New World with us, but then let's say when Battlefield 2042 comes out and he wants to play with his friends, that's cool. And then
I feel like people actually don't expect that shit. You know, that's where a lot of problems come from.
Yeah, and there's groups like that. There's fucking groups like that.
Yeah, that's what makes it so fucking weird. When you think that you have like some type of fucking completely like, like everybody's just 100% loyal to you in your video game dynasty.
Yeah, and
I think one problem is like a lot of these clans, a lot of these groups think like everything's EVE Online. They have to treat everything like it's EVE Online.
Yeah, I will say this just for the record, we do have to treat Star Citizen if any of us ever start playing Star Citizen group, we do have to add a layer of that kind of like security to VG, but not on the same level. Yeah, because that's like we have about $15,000 into Star Citizen as a group as a whole, so I don't want to do that.
All right, it's necessary. There's way more at stake, when it comes to some shit like that.
But with that being said, it's only like a layer. It's not like it's still gonna have the same mentality that we've had before. At the end of the day, it's a video game. We can't we can't do too much. There's only so much you can do. I think that's why like I said, like what Savage says, people like playing here because of the way we handle things with that sets. Mm-hmm. It's great too because call me what's the word? Call me. There's a word for this.
Call me maybe.
No, I'm trying to think of the word. There's a word for this. Call me corny. Call me corny. But I fucking love playing video games with friends. That's one of the best things on this earth. Just playing video games with friends, bro. You make these memories with friends, and that's actually goes back to where our the motto that we have. Where but right before a big fight or right before like a big event or during like a thing, I say live forever. It's because these stories that we make as a group, and this is going to sound corny, but these stories that we make as a group, as friends, they're forever. Like they're on the internet forever for us. And as long as the internet's around, it's there. And 20 years from now, let's say 20 years from now, God forbid, this group is gone, right? I can go back and look back on our YouTube channel and then fucking laugh my ass off at all the Enclave members fucking talking shit about us on our video. God, dude, that story is now forever. And the best part is, I know in my mind, other people out there in VG have experienced the same shit. You know what I mean? You guys in the chat and you guys in this podcast, you guys exactly know what I'm talking about. Those stories are fucking great. And New World isn't the only game where it made stories like that, but that's just a prime example of like these stories that kind of that live forever within you, and that's big. Like I said, it sounds corny, but like it's big to me. That's actually one of my driving factors of why I keep this community going. Like when I played my very first MMO a while ago, Little Naive Proverbs was fucking stupid as fuck and believed like some random guy, hey dude, follow me to this spot. I need help with killing a bear. And I was like, oh sure. I'm very, very fucking, I'm a good guy. I'll come and help you. I go out there, follow this guy to his house. This is in this game. And if you get killed in this game, you drop your shit. And him and 4 other people all ganked me and fucking killed me and took my shit. And from that day forward, bro, I fucking said to myself, I am never going into a fucking game like an MMO or like when I play it for real without fucking people. I am never going to be that guy that gets ganked. I am now going to be that fucking guy that does the ganking, that kicks down the door. I'm not the guy that, is going to get ganked anymore. And so that's one of the driving factors is like these fun memories I have with Validus and the fact that I don't want to be the guy that gets ganked.
It's the Proverbs origin story. We need to make an anime adaptation of this.
I should not have went out and helped that guy with the bear. Dude, that was so shitty, dude. I lost some good shit. Oh man. But yeah, that is why I think communities and stuff, they just affect your gaming experience to a whole different level. Touching on that, it's to the point where I honestly believe in myself that if I'm part of the cult personality that Validus is, right? I want to turn this group into more than just a gaming community, and by that I don't mean like we're gonna go like crazy application level. It's gonna be completely different. It's gonna be more like it's a fun lifestyle, almost like a club, like a real life club that you're a part of, right? And a club that like it's just fun just to be a part of and just to do
We're
things
a
with.
gang.
But for the most part, we're based on gaming. That's why I'm starting to do real life like episodes on YouTube and shit. And I'm trying to like get this game rolling. That Valis is no longer just this thing that grew from a couple of games. It's now like a part of a fun lifestyle, and you don't have to dedicate your life like the way I do. It's just I just want you to be a part of it. Show you that you're now a part of my life when you're now in this group. And that's the fun part of it. Yeah. Shay said he remembers the clip in New World where we all like fucking were laying in the grass and stood up and shot that guy with the muskets. Yeah, those are the stories, bro. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You don't get that with many other groups, and I think that was very heavily lacking in these other groups.
So one thing I wanted to say real quick, regarding the whole cult of personality thing, and what he just said, things lacking in groups. But one thing that I think a lot of groups lack that could potentially help with cult of personalities, and this sort of stems from with the way that the military does things, and it's they will constantly try to mentor and make new leaders to replace the old leaders. So perhaps if more clans and groups and stuff implement programs to train new leaders, people that are interested in becoming leaders, training them, sort of the ways, I guess, uh, that could potentially alleviate the issues of the main guy having to be absent, because now you have someone else that's been trained up and mentored, uh, to take his place for the time being. So perhaps if more groups implement that sort of idea of mentoring new leadership to come forward, because life happens, right?
Yeah.
There's never it's not like the main leader for something will always be present. Something's gonna come up, and it had there's been times where you Proverbs where you had to go to attend to real life things. So if these groups just implement a mentorship program, find a way to train people up to maybe not develop it like a personality entirely, but just the skills, the soft skills of just being a good leader, that could really help with a leader being absent, or maybe even taking his place if it really came down to it.
You're absolutely correct, 100%. The only thing I would say is that like it's hard to find someone who's willing and wanting to do that here in VG. Like
Yeah,
it's so hard. You're 100% correct, but it's just no one's ever like come up to me and be like, "Hey, I want to try to step up and be like the shot caller for VG when you're not there." And that's a big role.
Honestly, that'd be a really hard task for whoever even took that shit on. Because I've seen the mentality of not saying that we can't get together without you. Like there was in moments in New World where we did fight in groups and shit while you weren't there, but it's really hard to get people to listen when it's not Proverbs' voice. Like you might get a couple people who's on the same page, but it's not gonna be as tight knit as if Proverbs gave the order. It's like people just don't take it. People whoever does step up have a lot of like respect earning to do, because like you could tell a lot of what you have is just based off of respect for you. So a lot of people just
yeah, that's what I was saying. Like it's hard. It's not easy, and it's like finding someone who's willing to take on that mantle is hard because there's a lot of pressure. I'll actually go over some of the shit. I'm actually gonna like, uh, I don't talk about this normally, at all actually, and these are stuff that I kept to myself over the years. I don't even tell. I've never told anyone this, so I'm gonna go off the books for a little bit. When it comes to being the leader, okay, when it comes to being any kind of shot caller, any kind of, you're in a leadership position for something, uh, some of you guys who have probably been in this position before probably know, especially Ziller if you're in the military. There's this fear, this constant fear of being a terrible player, of not being good enough to be in that position anymore.
For sure.
It is constant pressure. If I'm not good at that video game, how am I supposed to fucking be the leader? You know what I mean? And it sucks. I'm not saying it like gets me mentally a lot or anything, but it's always there in the back of my mind. It's I did deal with it in a bad way back like maybe like 7 years ago, like maybe like 2014, 2013. I dealt with it during the PlanetSide 2 days a little bit, where like sometimes I'll make a bad call. I mean, it wasn't like I didn't make bad calls often, but like there were times where I made bad calls, and it got to me. It's like, am I just not good enough to like do this anymore? Can I not be the shot caller? Should someone else take my spot? And that level of like pressure just kind of starts getting to you. You're just like fuck, I need to like spend more time, I need to do this, do that. Nowadays, I'm a seasoned veteran. I'm fucking like 31 years old, dude. That shit doesn't bother me as much anymore because I'm just gonna go with the flow. If I fuck up, I fuck up. I just get better off fucking up, and that's just who I am as a human. But back then, when you're younger, you don't have that same like hard mentality that you would when you're older, and it gets to you, bro. You're weaker you're in a weaker mental state. And I think where it really climaxed was when we were playing Black Desert Online, and I was having such a tough time competing with these other dudes who are grinding 24/7, and I had to grind. And if I'm not grinding, I was doing stuff with our YouTube channel or our Twitch. And if I'm not doing stuff for our Twitch or our YouTube channel, I'm dealing with running the guild, And all that stuff combined, where like you start to feel like you're not even playing a game anymore, You're not playing the game for fun. And that's where like at one point in BDO, I was like, all my friends, a lot of people in VG stopped playing BDO, for one reason or another, and it became less about playing BDO like the way we intended, and more like, what am I really doing? Is it really worth it? And you kind of have to weigh that it's not worth it anymore, and that's where it sucks because, bro, like, put yourself in my shoes and like think about the prep work, like just like Arma 3 or like New World, the prep work that goes into it. You have to dedicate extra time into it because you're the leader. The responsibility falls on you, no one else. You have to take that responsibility. Then you have to get good at the game. If you're not good at the game, bro, like I said, no one's gonna respect you. Like how Savage says, you lead with respect. No one respects you if you're not good at a game. I don't have to be the best at the game. I just can't be a fucking shitter. You know what I mean? I just can't be a shitter. And like, God, dude, like back then the pressure was real, dude. Nowadays I can handle it, like it's whatever's. But back then, that shit got to me, man. It really did. It just climaxed in BDO, but it really got to me in PlanetSide. And like, I think during PlanetSide 2 days, we were playing pretty fucking hard. We were going 5 days a week, Monday through Fridays, at 4 o'clock for like 3-4 hours. From 4 o'clock my time. Yeah, you remember, Ziller, fucking, you probably got off school or like, yo, fuck, it's op time, let's go. And
fucking hot dropping armor columns. What
Yeah.
armor columns? Dead.
And during those ops, bro, my brain is like operating at like 120% capacity of not only am I playing the game, right? I'm also like trying to lead this, call the shots, like run the show, and it's like it gets to you. It eventually does get to you. But I think during those times it really solidified who I am today as part of VG's like de facto leader. It's like it really helped me. Like nowadays I can deal with it easy. It's like, all right, well, I fucked up. I learned from it, and I'm gonna fucking move on. That's all I can do. I've learned to accept that's what's gonna happen. And when it comes to other games and such, I try my best. I give 110, 120% of my effort to make sure I try to be like a really fucking good player. Not the best, but a good player. That's all. That's all I ask, is just be a good player. Yeah, that's something I've never talked about over the over the years. God damn. Yeah, there's a lot of. I think that's one of the things that we're gonna do on this podcast. We're gonna try and talk about stuff that's just not normally covered. I wonder, like, has any of you guys ever been in like a leadership position for anything, like for like anything at all?
Oh
When it
yes,
comes to-
BDO I was.
Oh yeah, yeah. There you go. So we'll start with Savage. Go for it. BDO.
Oh yeah, BDO I was an officer. Like I helped set up for Node Wars and shit. You know, putting down the fences and shit.
Yeah.
I liked it. I actually that was one of the leaders I did like a lot, and I was able to talk to like here. It was one of the only ones. And yeah, I helped him out a lot.
Yeah.
Just whatever he asked for. It wasn't just like, you know, I specifically did this. It was just I just tried to help take shit off his back because he was like you and he tried to fucking do everything.
Yeah. I think going into New World, that's where I knew that was an issue before we played the 10-day preview, and I delegated really hard to Dervish, Jaboba, and Dremy. And if I don't mention anyone else, I'm sorry. But those were the main people I delegated to, and that really helped. Oh, that fucking helped a lot. Ziller, what was you were in a leadership position where you felt like there was a little bit of a pressure?
Well, yeah. So I'm gonna go back to Planet Side. They had a thing called the Planet Side Infantry League, which basically stands for everything that Planet Side shouldn't be. But the idea is like they give you a perspective of PIL is. It's just a 6 versus 6 tournament. You know, it's Call of Duty in a game that shouldn't be Call of Duty.
Yeah, basically.
Basically. But so basically, you know, I was part of this. I was part of one of the teams for that, and like the leader for that, you know, his friend got COVID, and he had to help, you know, deal with that basically. And since I was, and this goes back to, you know, being a good player and everything, and that, you know, helping with leadership. You know, I was without, you know, I was without like debate or without argument, like the top player of that team, you know, and we were all solid players, but I was like the sweatiest of them all. And I also expressed some interest in maybe being a leader if it was needed. So sure enough, I became the de facto team captain of, you know, this group, which was pretty small. I would say like just about like 8 players, basically, effectively 8 players. But you know, I had to basically be the representative of this team. You know, I had to, you know, go in for interviews. You know, with like the casters and everything, I had to help with organizing practices and matches and stuff like that. And was I a great team captain? No, not necessarily. Sorry, I'm new. But you know, it was a good experience, but there was also a lot of mistakes in the process too, which is naturally going to happen in a new venture that you're going through.
Yeah, you definitely make mistakes. I can concur. One of my hands, let's see. I guess you can kind of see it on my pinky right here. Maybe not on the camera. Let's see. I think it's right there.
I could kind of see it.
There's a scar right there. You can probably kind of see it. It's kind of hard. But there's a scar right there, right? There's a scar. That scar is from me slamming my fist on a stainless steel Corsair keyboard. Right? Fucking slam my desk.
No.
Was PlanetSide 2. This is the worst fucking call I ever made, and like it was kind of like I fucking facepalm at how stupid it was to make this call. It was a tech plant, right? And we were about to resecure the tech plant, and it was a max crash. There was 60 of us in the lower tunnel, the little like fucking grab lift tunnel that takes you all the way to the garage of the main tech plant, and it was a max crash, and we were all about to jump up into the grab lift, right? And little did we know, there was fucking people on the lower balcony, a little catwalk overlooking that little entrance to the grab lift, and like fucking like 4 or 5 Sunders with grenade launchers. And as we all came up, we got fucking wiped in a matter of like 10 seconds. 60 people dead in a matter of 10 seconds. That never happens in VG PlanetSide 2 ever. And think about it in New World. Imagine if I told you to engage in a siege and all of us die. That never happens. And I'm not trying to say like I'm some like super crazy good commander or anything, but like it's just I don't like to put us into like those positions. I don't like to be the guy that makes those calls. If I made those calls constantly, I wouldn't be in this position that I am today. And that call to send everybody into the tech plant was like, holy shit, we just got fucked because I made a bad call. And a bad call that could have been easily prevented had we just sent one person up that grav lift to check it out first. That's all it took. All it took was just send one person up first and peek it. And I didn't do that. So I fucking got so mad, bro. I fucking slammed my hand on the fucking keyboard and then it started bleeding. I think I have a picture of it somewhere. I gotta pull it up. And I was like,
you
fuck,
would
dude.
never make that mistake again, would you?
I would never make that mistake again. This little scar on my pinky is a reminder. Don't send 60 people into their death like that ever again.
You gotta learn like that, bro. Some of the best fucking leaders made huge fucking mistakes before.
Yeah, those are the blunders that you never forget. And I remember it like it happened fucking yesterday. And this happened like 8 years ago. 8 fucking years ago. I don't even know if you were there. You might have been there for the Zealot. And the worst part
I don't think I remember that.
Oh yeah, I was there.
Oh yeah, I remember Savage. It was the worst, bro. The worst part was there's 3 factions in that game. There's the Terran Republic, the New Conglomerate, and the Vanu Sovereignty. The VS purple people, I fucking hate them. I hate the VS. People. And it was them. It was them who were on the fucking balcony. And I forgot I think it was Azure Twilight and a couple other guilds. It was multiple guilds too who wiped us. That never happens, bro. That almost never happens in VG. Like a full like group wipe, like that. Like that almost never fucking happens like that.
I've never felt it.
Oh, dude. I felt it. I definitely felt that. I still have.
I've never felt defeat in valleys.
Yeah. I mean, real quick touching on that. This is a valid concern. A little bit off topic. Going into New World, we're eventually gonna lose a siege. I think.
Nah, I don't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance we may not ever, depending on who rolls on our server, But if we roll on a server and then there's some guild who's like us or even better, we may lose sieges. And I hope people understand like that's perfectly okay. Like we take losing like pretty okay.
Honestly, bro, the thought of losing is kind of exciting, because of how hard we fucking shitted on.
Yep.
On the last server, bro. Like the thought of somebody like going as hard as us, like that sounds like the most fucking fun I'll probably ever have.
Yeah.
Well, that and as a group, you cannot grow and get better against an opponent that's not really giving you opposition to begin with.
Yo, for sure, man, for sure.
I Dark Orbit was. Remember, I was telling you about Dark Orbit a long time ago.
It's like a spaceship game, right? Yeah.
That was. I forgot to mention that was like one of the biggest games I was in. That actually had a big community like this.
Yeah.
I was in a few over there. You bounce a lot because there's a bunch of fucking bullshit going on in that game too, where people crying and bitching and quitting and shit all the time. But I honestly just forgot where I was going here. I'm
high. No, you're about to talk about Dark Orbit and how you're in that, and
no, but I was going somewhere with that. It was like an example. I just completely.
Or it happens to everyone.
Yeah, every game that we play, we always end up somehow making rivals with someone. Every game, every fucking game we play, it doesn't like, or not every game, but every MMO or multiplayer game we play, we always end up making rivals. And PlanetSide 2, we had a ton of fucking rivals. We had Black Arrows as a rival. We had Storm Grenadiers before they like stopped playing as a rival. We had who else? The Blue Lions.
What do you say? DAP was one of them.
I wouldn't say they were a rival, but they were there. I would say Goder and Azure Twilight were more rivals. Oh, CML was a fucking rival for sure. We got these guilds and these guild leaders who would like fucking like the whole like during ops. It wasn't even like sometimes it wasn't even about the map anymore. It was about who is gonna wipe out who in a fight and then talk shit afterwards.
I remember that. I remember where I was going.
Yeah, go for it.
Like the way you guys play, like it reminded me of Dark Orbit because like And the only thing that was missing is like the shit would get so intense there. Like, you know, you walk in with like 100 people on both sides, and the wars would literally end with like, you know, 3 or 4 people fucking left. Just fucking, you know, just straight chaos. And
Oh yeah.
that's the only feeling that I haven't gotten because we didn't have a real challenge there.
Yep.
You know,
And
I'm kind of.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm kind of curious on how how the siege scene is gonna go on New World ever since they removed the life staff. Because I've noticed a lot of our plays came from us all, dashing in at the same time and just.
That was part of our shock and awe. Yep.
Oh,
There's a thing they call it in the military, and Diller might know this. It's called it's violence of action, I think. Right?
yeah, speed, surprise, violence of action.
Speed, prep, violence of action. That's a doctrine we follow by really fucking hard, and it works. It works. Sometimes the best way to win isn't necessarily the best strategy. It's the fastest executed strategy. And Life Dash like together into an enemy group was it. How the
To
siege
be
scenes
honest, I don't see how we were the only ones doing that, bro. Like that
is
was just
yeah, and it's such a simple thing, right, Savage? Like it was so
straight
simple.
fucking common sense, bro. Like, before we even did it in our first war, like I was already fucking expecting it.
Yeah,
We talked about it like for a while before we even did the shit.
yeah, and
Yeah, but ever since that
they removed it. Yeah, you're right. They removed it. I think now we don't have the same speed as the life staff dad, the mobility that it gives us, but our organization to clash is really big. I think it's still it comes down to our me like counting, rallying the people together with me, and then counting down 3, 2, 1, push, and then boom, everybody rushes in together at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
I will
think
say
people.
this.
Yeah,
What's
without
up?
the dash, the outcome would have been the same.
I was gonna say, if violence doesn't work, use more violence. More and more violence.
So here, I'm gonna reveal one of our cards. Okay, since I'm just gonna assume majority of people watching this are either VG members or people who are like chill, and this isn't going to. I guess it doesn't really matter much if other people know. So when it comes to New World, I already know what one of the great axe abilities is. I already know there's 2 trees, and the one that I want people to go down actually for the Vanguard team is actually the spinning attack, the Blade Storm. Okay, in World of Warcraft, there was an ability called Blade Storm that warriors had, and this shit fucking chunk. This shit fucking chunk people, bro. Now, these abilities typically are balanced by doing less damage to each individual target, but you still hit a lot of targets. Now, imagine if 5 or 10 people are spinning on the same fucking location, right? People are gonna fucking die. People are gonna fucking die. And what I noticed was there's a lot of choke points. There are times where you can notice there's like enemies flooding out of a choke point or coming towards a choke point. And one of the choke points is either the actual point itself, excuse me, or like fighting on their siege weapons, or like, you know what I mean, or in like a gated area. And if we had 5 or 10 people spinning at the same time at once, that's a huge fucking like meat grinder, bro. That is a fucking meat grinder. That's how you fucking kill groups of people like as a group. You know what I mean?
So there's a couple more things to add on to the Great Axe. Do you know what Gravity Well does and what one of the passives is?
Yeah, it absorbs projectiles, right?
No, that's the spin one.
Oh,
The
okay.
Gravity Well, it'll pull enemies to it, but there's also a passive for it for when it'll do 10% more damage per enemy that's been pulled in. So if you have 5 or 10 people all using Gravity Well and they all pull them into the same area while doing the blades,
Bit spinny boys.
the damage is going to be insane.
Yeah, I think the Great Axe is the way to go for our for the Vanguard team anyway. For any other team, I think we're still kind of toying with the idea, different things, but definitely with the Vanguard, Great Axe is going to be the way to go. Like organization and strategy is such a big deal that a lot of these other guilds didn't really do much of it, except I think Purple Parrots had a good shot caller. I think, right? Purple Parrots had a good shot caller, and then
That name
Yeah,
seems
it was
familiar.
some guild we fucking fought, and they didn't have our numbers, so we still like shitted on them. But they played really well, like for the numbers they had. I don't know what
Seems like Purple Parrots.
I think it might have been Purple Parrots. I feel
Yeah.
I don't.
It was Purple Parrots. I remember. They're the ones who took Brightwood.
Okay.
So Purple Parrots.
We fought them in that fucking temple, and they like defended us with like fucking 6 people or some shit.
Yeah,
4
they
men.
used the choke point for a little bit, and we had to figure.
Yeah.
We had to figure a way to get up there. Yeah, that was Purple Parrots. They were pretty cool. The only other guild that I saw was like kind of similar to that sense was and you guys are gonna laugh at this. Enclave, even though I think it was a bad idea, they had their loadout was a ton of fire mages. You remember that? Like they would just fire staff spam like with like 5, 6, 7, 8 different people onto point.
I was never impressed by Enclave, bro.
No, I wasn't either. But I gotta objectively look like they did at least have a loadout for their siege, and that was going in with a ton of fire mages. And the problem is that like the fire mages got countered by 3 things.
Bro, they used to yell, hit spinny sticks.
For real, bro. So they got countered so easily. It's like one, all of us would run to the point, and we practiced this. We legit practiced this, where we would rotate the light domes, and it would just completely negate the fire staff on the point. You know what I mean? And then 2, we had our team was mostly melee, and because they had no melee frontline, as soon as we clashed, 5 to 10 seconds into the clash between both groups, their frontline would fold and start running. And then our frontline would just fucking melt into their group, and all the range dudes who kind of need a frontline to kind of shoot behind start dying off because they're getting fucked into the melee. Then 3, the final thing that counters the fire staff spam was, dude, our Vanguard team had people with 20 fucking K health. I think the average health back then was like 4 or 5K. And our team had literally 20K health. I had 22.6 thousand health by the end of the game, by the final siege. And that was like, I barely took fucking damage. In the videos, you see me like barely take damage while I'm getting hit by like fucking like 5 people.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane. It's actually really insane. I that's what I thought anyway. But yeah, that's part of it, bro. That was pretty cool. But yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see the PvP siege with
Yep.
the two weapon combos and everything.
Yeah.
But I really hope that they do some buffs with certain weapons.
Yeah, I do too. I actually think they nerfed the fire staff recently too, which I don't think it was even that strong to begin with. Actually, I take it back. I take it back. They made it so you can cast while moving. That was pretty big. I forgot about that.
Well, yeah, they did that with the bow and the musket as well.
Yeah.
But it's like with the new weapon, the fucking ice gauntlet, it's like you can't even really use it because it doesn't do enough damage. Like I had 100 points in the fucking intellect and it was barely doing shit.
Yeah. I someone saying like the fire's garble run hands. Oh, the ice gauntlet. Yeah. I don't know anything about the ice gauntlet yet either, much. I only know I know all the talents and the spec trees and shit because I just know it. I have my ways. but the staff got nerfed in the last patch, so I don't know. It doesn't seem that great. Someone in the chat said it's Garbo. YouTube is your ways. Yeah. YouTube. It's definitely YouTube. I found it on YouTube. But yeah. The effectiveness of things, like here's the thing though. I don't know how effective certain things are from certain people. Like whenever someone tells me something, the problem is that like I'm not sure if what they say is from the perspective of like in like a single like or small scale skirmish or to like something big, it's like a big siege. Because those 2 things really fucking affect what your build is, Yeah, 2 main weapons now. They changed CDR, you can't flash wave, right, healing staff, and it's 2 main. Yeah. A lot of those changes I'm already well aware of. The 2 main weapons is probably the biggest. And there's no more. Well, they took out one of the biggest things I think that's affecting our siege strategy is they took out smoke arrows off the fucking bow. You can't use the smoke arrow anymore. That was part of our ability to get into a spot, place a keg, or do a flank, or blind a siege weapon was with smoke arrows. That was a really good strat to run, but they took out the smoke arrows off the bow, so bow is not looking as good to run anymore. for Siege for us. We used to have that as like a lot of people ran that. So I think a lot of people ran bow, and life staff with like one other weapon, or life staff with two hammer and whatever axe or whatever other weapon they ran. That was our siege setup. Unless you were ranged. If you were ranged, I'm pretty sure it was musket. People still ran mostly musket. I think.
Yeah.
Axe. I think it was axe and musket. I think our 5-man range team were all muskets, right?
Pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure too. I'm pretty sure it was all muskets. That was the thing. Oh man.
I think that they're adding more weapons on beta release.
They are.
Oh yeah.
They're about to release one, and then they ended up not doing. I think they had to balance it.
The greatsword we saw pictures of the greatsword in the files.
Ah, yeah.
I don't know.
They ended up not doing it for something.
Yeah.
Because I've been playing in the alpha. Like I haven't been playing hardcore, but I go in every now and then, fuck around.
I've been playing for the last 5 or 6 days, but yeah, they should be adding in the greatsword, and then they should be adding the pistols as well.
Oh yeah, the
I
pistol.
heard about the pistols.
Which I'm curious on how that's going to be, if you're going to be able to dual wield. I mean, I did hear something about maybe getting dual wield swords or hatchets or something that's dual wield.
Wonder how that's gonna work or balance. So maybe daggers, maybe dual wield daggers. But
That's- I think that-
it would seem weird if you could dual wield a hatchet and something else. What would be the point of running a single hatchet? You know?
Yeah. And I don't know if this was like that in the preview, but if you use a shield, if you have a shield equipped with a hatchet, your attack speed is like a lot slower.
Oh really?
Yeah. That's what people have
Man.
been saying in the alpha.
I actually didn't run the hatchet at all. I ran sword and
ran it a
shield.
bit.
I ran sword shield. Well, depending what we were doing for siege, it was sword shield, life staff dash, life staff for the dash, and the hammer for CC, and then for open world it was sword shield, bow, and life staff for the bow sprint. And if you're not aware of what bow sprinting it was, basically you grab that skill that gives you speed for dodging, and you dodge with the bow on your back, and you get the speed bonus, and you can infinitely dodge and get the speed bonus constantly and catch up to people or run away from them. But I think I'm not sure. So we don't know. Actually, I'm gonna have you guys test it out for me. Can you level up the bow?
I already have it leveled.
Can you can you figure out if that thing still works well, the bow dodge? Because I saw that they reworked movement speed and called it haste or something like that. It's 20% haste. I don't know if that's 50% movement speed still or not. If it's not, it may not be worth as much.
I don't think it's called haste in the alpha. I'm pretty sure it's still called movement speed, but let me look.
I think it's haste because I saw them say they changed haste to something else to movement speed or something like that. Yeah, rip life staff dash.
There was something else I was gonna say. I totally forgot what it was.
All right. Well, that's all right. Well, we can do a closing note. Does anyone else have any other topics they want to bring up in the closing notes? We'll wrap this up real quick. We're going on 2 hours here, and I actually thought this was going to be like a 45-minute, 1 hour pilot episode, and
We
it
went
turned
on
into like
to the social aspect of the topic. We just kept going and going.
that was a good topic though. That was really. We're gonna go back to that topic in the future again. I think there's a lot of stuff we still didn't fully explore in the future, but
Sorry, I was late. Fucking.
that's
shit
cool,
just
bro.
got longer and longer.
It's cool. I mean, like next episode, not a big deal. Dude. We can do it. We can do another episode. Oh, I actually think the most interesting subject was probably the social aspect of the topics, and then talking about New World a little bit.
Okay, yeah. If after you dodge, gain 10% haste for 2 seconds.
Yeah, I think haste affects your movement speed. If
Yeah, it definitely does. Let me spec into that.
What level are you? What the?
Almost 29.
Shit, you been going hard.
Not
Alright.
really, but gain
If
10%
you-
haste for
Let's see, I have.
If you in the chat like this podcast or this whole pilot, this is a pilot episode, but we're probably gonna do a couple more episodes before we decide whether or not we want to keep going. If you like what you saw, if you want like to see any other different topics being talked about, or even like if you think you want to have an idea for parts of the podcast where like maybe we do reactions or something, toss into the chat, message me on Discord, toss in our Discord chat, whatever works. I will see you guys later. Any closing statements from my three guests here?
Yeah,
Alright,
yeah,
do
we
it.
love you boys. Have a good night. Stay safe. If you're gonna have butt sex, make sure you use proper lubrication. And
Yeah, hopefully it wasn't like a complete, boring 2 hours or anything. Hopefully people actually enjoyed hearing the conversations at hand. We will see you guys on Thursday. This podcast is going to be a Tuesday, Thursday thing. Maybe we have extra episodes here and there whenever they pop up. Sometimes we'll just wing it. Like we'll pop an episode up when we're feeling like it's we can talk about something that is worth posting on YouTube, then we'll do it. But otherwise, it's going to be Tuesday, Thursdays at 6 o'clock PST, 9 o'clock Eastern. I will see you gentlemen later, and see you guys later. Oh, one more thing. Remember, July 10th is the meeting for New World. If you don't remember, July 10th, save the date. Big meeting, really fucking big meeting. I'll see you guys later.